If a bear and a shark had a fight, who would win?
Now this is a question that demands a stupid answer, and one that I've asked some friends in Discord about what they thought about it, and well, I think they're a little bit biased. I'm not sure what gives me that impression though, as I'll even admit that I was biased in this matchup too, because I said bear just as well without thinking, when the answer is theoretically bear, but in practice, it is hands down without a question shark. And before we get into the why, we must first establish some parameters, as nature's not some death match where creatures are fighting inside of some endless void where they can just freely move without any motion. However cool that might be, we must first calculate how these fighters will fight, and is it just going to be one backs away, gives ground, and how will this work? So we're going to be having to find where they're going to be fighting, as well as who is going to be fighting, and which would theoretically even fight each other if this is practical, and develop the best parameters to do as such. So without further ado, we're going to get into this, and in this corner we have the bear who weighs in, hold on, what kind of bear? For there are more than one apparently, and for this, I'm gonna have to consult, research from TierView's old video, what kind of bear is best. And it is here that he places the brown and the black bear on the top, so we will focus on these two mostly as they are the most relevant. Both types of bears are scavengers over active predators, even when they're acting predatory over salmon, such as when brown bears decide to wait inside of the rivers and catch salmon as they're leaping up waterfalls and such. They're omnivorous, so they catch what they can eat and they eat what they can find. That is simply how they work. Well, sharks themselves are predators. They attack, they eat, and that is what they do. They don't eat these little, well, there are such things as basking sharks, but these are not going to be the same that we're going to be discussing here. Now back to the bears. Both of these bears hibernate all winter long, allowing them to go to sleep throughout the entire winter, provided that they consume enough food during the rest of the year. Now this might not seem like a big advantage, like what does being able to survive the winter have to do with a fight? Well, it's quite simply considering because of this reason, their metabolism goes haywire, and they can just spend the entire days doing nothing but eating, hunting, eating, fighting, eating, and that is their entire day of what they are able to do. Bears are incredibly resilient, and this is one of their biggest advantages. So we gotta look at the two bears, and the brown bear is the strongest, and their strikes both crushes and severs within its 5 to 10 centimeter long claws. These beasts are not just lumbering giants, but they can clear a field in the blink of an eye on the charge, but only really defends its ground rather than aggressively charging. The brown bear will fight back if a threat does not back down, but the biggest and largest advantage that the brown bear has in this matchup that made my bias just say bear each and every single time was the fact that the bear is extremely resilient. They've been described as natives as being so durable, taking on so many arrows and spears that they resembled a porcupine, and they still kept fighting. Some pioneer hunters even recount how a bear had been shot through the heart with a musket, and as the hunters went up to inspect their kills, the bear stood up and tore the man's face off with a single swipe. Now I can hear the choruses of execration that's ancient history. What about modern days? And to that, well, I have this little video for you of a brown bear taking a modern day shotgun blast, point blank, falling, rolling, landing on its back, standing up, and finishes the charge towards the man. I don't know what happened at the end of this video because for some strange reason the video feed cuts out, but I do not put my hopes on that man. The bear may not have survived. It certainly made that fight into at least a Pyrrhic victory for the man. So when it comes down to a shark, the shark would have a certain victory, but The second it takes a bite out of the bear, in bare minimum, I would be a bloody stalemate and at most a Pyrrhic one. That pun was not intentional, but I realized it as I said it, and this one stayed. Now the black bear, on the other hand, is smaller and weaker than the brown counterpart, but more aggressive, yet cowardly. They do make up for these drawbacks, however, by being much more mobile and faster at climbing up trees and cliffs. Not a very useful talent when fighting a shark, I must admit, unless they're able to climb up the tree really fast in the event of floodwaters. So in other words, it's able to run but not able to fight. So technically this bear would win the fight, as in nature there's no such thing as hospitals, you've just run. But you've conceded and capitulated the position, so the bear has won the food, what the fight and territory was over. On to the sharks, and we must first consider what kind of shark as well as bear could possibly engage with each other. And as much fun as it would be to see a grizzly and a great white shark fight, well, great whites fight by following their prey and diving deep below and charging their prey from below, smashing their body weight into them, forcing gravity to do the work of sending the helpless prey into their jaws. It means that the fight would have to take place in shallow waters, where a bear would just drown the shark in shallow waters, as one major disadvantage of a shark is the fact that they lack swim bladders and a gill flaps, which prevent them from the shark from breathing in water unless it is in motion. You prevent the shark from being in motion, the shark literally cannot breathe. It breathes by moving, forcing water through its gills. So you prevent it from moving, and the shark perishes. And since bears like to hug and pin down their prey, it would be game over for the great white right there. But if the battle took place in deep water, the bear would not even be able to use its advantages and would just get eaten or drown. The bear would have no chance in hell. So looking at the environment, the fight has to take place in, it has to be in either floodwaters or shallow streams where both creatures go for food. Well, this would only leave two types of shark, the tiger and the bull. Both of these sharks have the advantages of being able to sense blood in the water long before the bear would even know it's around, as well as high mobility and rows upon rows of razor-sharp, replaceable teeth. Well, if it can catch the bear before it notices, that's going to be a nasty wound, and at best, he'll bleed out and win. So the tiger shark hunts like a tiger, hence its name. Well, I mean, the stripes help, but they could have also been called a zebra shark, had it just been the stripes. The tiger shark refers to the fact that they sneak up upon their prey and quickly ambush it before they have a chance to escape. And while the tiger shark would struggle entering upon fresh waters, the bears frequent the same, this can't be said about the bull shark. And the bull shark has adaptive gills that allows them to venture both into salt and fresh waters. So it seems like this is the best shark for the job. They also have the highest bite force out of any other shark, beating the polar bear but below the alligator. And it is also one of the most aggressive and extremely territorial sharks that has no tolerance for provocation. It sounds like, theoretically, should these two conditions meet, and should these two creatures meet, these two would have a go at each other. So ladies and gentlemen, we have our contenders here. The bull shark and the brown bear both venturing into the same area. So how does this theoretical fight play out? Well, first, the brown bear would start on the defensive, just ambushing salmon as they return to spawn when a bull shark swims up close. The brown notices something big is swimming around the area and snorts, clicks its teeth, and digs in with one of its claws. The bull shark, sensing provocation, tries to swim around the bears, feigning a retreat. The bear, thinking it may have won, but pivots, keeping the shark in its sight. The bull is having none of this and swims closer to intimidate the bear, provoking a mock charge. So now the fight has begun as the shark swims to the side and forward, provoking the bear, who responds in kind. The shark's better mobility in the water allows it to gain advantage as it first tears a bite into the bear, but as it rocks back and forth to saw part of the bear off and into its gullet, The bear stands on its hind legs and throws its body weight into its swipe at the shark's head. Now, despite the water taking most of the force of the blow, the long claws and mass would cut deeply into the shark, forcing it to back off and turn to swim away. But it is here that the bear would charge and pin the shark to the riverbed, where it would prevent the shark from moving and as a result, breathing. If the shark doesn't drown, then the bear would just slowly eat it as it has the shark pinned. Bear may win, but he might just later die of the wounds suffered or from infection. But wait! I said earlier that the bear would win in theory, but lose in practice. But you just said that the bear would win! And well, this was the story that I completely had found up until this research gave me the Greenland shark. This is a monstrous shark that has teeth like a reciprocating saw and is larger than the great white. But, I'm thinking, but it doesn't matter. It's an Arctic shark. What does the Arctic shark do? And well, this shark actively hunts polar bears. That's right, this is a shark that hunts bears. And I guess Tirzu was not joking when he had said,
They also don't get to skip the polar night like other bears can, meaning they're stuck hunting during one of the most difficult world events on one of the most difficult servers in the game. Furthermore, even though they do have crazy high base stats, they don't have any broken special abilities that make them top tier. Their stealth is harshly reduced because of the lack of cover, and also their extremely pungent smell. This means polar bears must constantly outplay their opponents, either by setting traps, or somehow sneaking up on targets in spite of their abysmal stealth. In desperate times, it can mean picking really unfavorable fights.
Which I find funny because polar bears actively hunt the top tier predator known as man, since I don't think you need much of a thought to put behind a large carnivorous bear versus a defenseless man is not a favorable matchup for the man. And as the saying truly goes, if it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lay down. But if it's white, good night. Now these sharks are ambush predators. They catch seals as they sleep, or polar bears as they dive into the frigid waters, chasing a seal up or dragging it back to land. The bear is nearly defenseless in this state. When it reaches the water, it has a chunk of flesh torn off of it in freezing cold salt water. It quickly succumbs to the pain, drowning, and the jaws of its predator. The bear stands absolutely no chance in this matchup delivered to us by nature. So theory doesn't matter, because in practice, shark hunts bear. So in the battle between a bear and a shark, bet on the shark, because the bear has no chance. And if you have any other questions that you wished answered, buy me a coffee in the link below, and remember, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers.